This is A Flight of Southern Witches, a podcast by two Australian witches talking to other Southern Hemisphere witches about what witchcraft looks like and feels like in our part of the world, and what it means to be a Southern Hemisphere witch.
Well met, friends. You can call me Mel. I'm a Wiccan who lives in Central Australia. I first learnt about witchcraft in the mid 90s and have dabbled in a lot of different things since, but always come back to Wicca.
And hello there, I'm Gil. I'm an Australian witch living on the east coast of Australia. I started my witchcraft journey back in the 1990s doing elemental magic and divination. We started this podcast as podcast listeners because 99.9% of witchcraft podcasts are Northern Hemisphere focused. And down in the Southern Hemisphere, it's not just the water that rotates the other way.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to this. I got my best black shirt on.
We've all got black. Oh no, you're out of sync, Gil. You got blue on.
You
Yeah.
didn't get the memo.
I did, but I just don't follow the crowd.
Yeah.
So, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us. What we're going to be talking about tonight with our lovely guest Reese is Summer Solstice. So, Summer Solstice to us is this time of year, which is December, and there are no Yule logs during our summer solstice. So, hey Mel, hey Reese.
Hello.
Well, welcome Reese to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Did you want to just give our listeners a little bit of a snapshot of who is Reese?
Oh dear. Okay. Well, I'm a Gardnerian high priest, and also an eclectic witch. I've been practicing for longer than I care to count. I'm active in the Sydney pagan community, involved in running events and organising both public and private events. I have 3 cats, and I live in Sydney.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Reese. And so, Reese, summer solstice, what does that mean to you?
Oh, she launched at you then, didn't she? Straight in.
We're straight in.
What does it mean to you?
You would have noticed that it's very hot, very humid. So it's an interesting thing in Sydney, right? Because it's a really, really hot time of the year. Yet there's a lot of Christmas celebration going on. So you see a lot of Northern Hemisphere imagery around snow and stuff, right? So there's that confusion there a little bit in terms of looking at things. It sometimes seems a little bit off. What it means to me, it's the height of the solar energy for the year. It's a time to start looking at completions, but also drawing in what you need to get through the next 6 months or 8 months through the winter. Like we're starting to prep for that kind of thing as well.
Yeah.
And unlike, I guess, it's got more from what's happening at the season in Australia. I think it's got more related to a Northern Hemisphere winter in that it's the more dangerous of the seasons in Australia.
Yeah, definitely.
There are the death aspects to it that we would normally associate, I think, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere with winter. So it's an interesting time of the year, definitely.
I think there's definitely, especially with the bushfires and stuff, which haven't yet started badly that I've heard about anywhere. I was looking the other day about, whether there was any massive ones burning anywhere, but there haven't been. But that's a huge amount of death that we suffer through at the summer solstice. So, yeah.
And I will also say for me, like at this time in the calendar as well, I kind of feel like I'm at the end of the year and I'm just like trying to limp through to the finish line of this marathon. So like it's not like I feel it's not that midway point where we're like full of energy and bubbling up as well.
We're cooked.
Everybody's tired.
It's like the recharge point. So I feel like sometimes,
rest and recoup some energy.
Yeah. Because of the actual calendar year.
Ending at the same time.
It is also about, and like what Reese was saying, it's almost like you take that time to rest and like gather what you need to move into the next period of the year and the new year.
Yeah.
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 And sorry, Reese, you were going to say something?
No, I think you covered it.
Oh, well, I will say part of our podcast discussions is always talking over the top of each other. We're very good at doing
Absolutely.
that. So
Yeah.
I'll,
Yeah.
feel
I'll
feel
fit.
free
I'll
to
fit right in.
jump
Yeah,
in.
no, I'll fit right in.
Butt in. It's fine. Yeah, because one of the other things I was talking about with a friend of mine a while ago, I think it was probably even last Christmas actually, was that I find it very frustrating that we don't have decorations that are Australian Christmas. And then so we were like sort of brainstorming like what are Australian Christmas things? Like if you were to go buy decorations, what would you want? And I'm like, well, I'm not a real like huge fan of like koalas with Santa hats because it's still like this an Americanization of
Yeah,
Christmas to me. And I know that makes no sense, but like also I don't want a sand man on the beach. Like that to me isn't Christmas either. So I'm like this, I don't know, but I feel like
Oh, come
I
on,
want
Santa Claus,
something.
beard, hat, budgie smugglers on the beach. That'd be great.
Oh no.
well, actually, I have to say, our background, the purple, for me, like jacaranda and the
Yes.
jacarandas and seeing them everywhere, especially like in Sydney, there's a lot of jacaranda trees in established
Yeah.
areas.
The
And
Yeah.
very,
so for
very city.
our non our non-southern hemisphere listeners, jacaranda is this amazing tree that has the most beautiful pastel purple
Yeah.
flower, like bell-shaped flowers.
Gorgeous. And
So
the
But
yeah,
smell.
I have to, yeah, but I have to say that you want it growing in your neighbour's yard, not
Yeah, not
yours.
yours. Yeah.
well, at
Yeah.
least not over your car.
Yeah.
Because you just end up with like when the flowers fall, it's beautiful, but you end
Purple
up with this
everywhere.
purple carpet that's really kind of slimy.
Annoying. Yeah. We
You
went
know,
and got pizza the other night and the pizza shop had jacaranda out the front and it
nice.
was all jacaranda flowers on the floor because they're starting to fall now. But I
Yeah,
stood on them and then accidentally crushed them. Obviously not accidentally, but and the smell that came out,
yeah,
the jacaranda smell that I don't think I ever realized is like we have heaps of jacaranda here. I didn't notice. I didn't know until they sort of started flowering now, but I didn't notice them last year. But the smell is just like in the air, and I never realized that until recently that that's actually a smell that I associate with Sydney. And yeah.
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 And I will say the same for me is like elderflower. Like
Mm.
seeing we've got an tree and seeing the elderflowers on the tree is always it's just that time of the year for that kind of stuff. And it always makes me think of, those
Yeah.
summery drinks where you have the bubbles or nice cocktail and just
Pina
yeah.
colada.
Yeah. Uh, n- I'm not so much a pina colada girl, but yeah, like but having that cold drink in a warm
Yeah.
night,
Yeah.
seeing yeah,
And Reese,
yeah,
I think I cut you off before. What were you going to say?
Oh no, that's fine. I'm thinking. I mean, it's a really thanks for the invite today. Because at about 4:30 this afternoon, I finished writing the midsummer rituals that I'm going to be running this year. So that was kind of timely. So I'm kind of got my head right in it at the
Oh
moment.
no. What themes have you gone with without giving away too much if you can?
Well, yeah. I mean, you might get to come along. You might get an invite. What themes we've gone with? Around bringing in, like we were talking before, so bringing in blessings
Yep.
and strength for the rest of the year, and also starting to look at you know what are you going to complete over
Yep.
the next two Sabbaths? What completion things are going to come into your life that you started maybe earlier in the year, and looking at those things. But it's also a celebration of the sun at its height, at its most powerful and its most influential, on the world in a lot of different ways,
Yep.
physically, spiritually, etc. Yeah, so we're looking at those types of themes. We're looking at, also, I guess, we incorporated some of the, if we can, depending on, and this is really going to depend on the weather, but we want to get people who are coming, to bring, um, water that they harvest from home, and the traditional kind of, taking dew in the morning. The problem is in Sydney is that the dew point is below the average low temperature. So we've got about a 40% chance that that'll actually happen on the day that we're doing it. So otherwise people are bringing tap water, but there's that. And also cutting, getting up in the morning and cutting the herbs that you're going to bring for the ritual, like first thing is going to be part of it as well. And getting people to connect pretty much over the whole day with how the season changes. So starting off doing things at home in the morning when it's cool and quiet and dark, and then experiencing just the increase in the energy from the sun throughout the day, just through the heat of it, just through like being out in the middle of the day on the longest day of the year, and just experiencing that. I think that's part of it as well. It brings it home in a very real way as to what we're working with.
Yeah, and your
those kind of
heat
things
is different as well.
It's a bit more moist.
Yeah. Your Sydney heat is far moister than
It's very
Victoria,
humid,
or even. I mean, we've had a bit of humidity here actually, which has been a bit of a shock for me. Because I haven't.
Yeah.
Victoria was never really humid.
Yeah,
There's
right.
a dry heat, but here the last couple of weeks has been over 30 degrees and humid, and I'm like,
That's
Oh,
really
yeah.
weird for your
I
neck
don't
of the
like
woods.
this.
You're quite inland too, aren't you? You're not on the coast, right?
Yeah, no, it's been awful.
Yeah,
So,
right. Okay. It's really
um,
unusual for you guys. Yeah. So
yeah,
we get humid. I mean, a very long time ago, I worked in Adelaide through summer, and it was hotter, but it wasn't nearly as bad. Like it just didn't, because it's, like you said, it's a dry heat.
yeah. Well, no, I mean, we had 40 degrees the other day,
It's just nuts. That's
which
nuts.
was just awful.
Well, that's
Awful.
actually we did as well. We had the first heat wave, and that's the other thing around kind of the dangers of the season in Australia, right? It isn't just fires. Obviously, they're tragic and terrible, and they kill a lot of people. But a lot of particularly elderly people are quite vulnerable with
Yeah,
the heat, which would be synonymous with being quite vulnerable to the cold
yeah.
in wintertime, which we don't really get. Like it doesn't get that cold here.
No. Well,
You don't have the same
no.
same risk. You get
No,
a
no.
couple of days maybe at like 4 degrees in Sydney, and that's it, right?
Oh,
But
we get colder
we
than
get
that.
a lot of 40-degree days, and if you don't have air conditioning and hydration, and you're old or vulnerable,
It's not even. It's not even if you don't have it. It's if you can't afford it. Because a lot of people, like my father-in-law, he has an air conditioner, but he doesn't turn it on because it's too expensive.
well, so he
Because
technically doesn't
electricity
have
is
it
so
then.
expensive.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's
So
like,
there's that very real risk from the weather,
yeah,
that you could die or someone you love could die.
yeah.
And
Look
they
at
put
heat
the
stroke
warnings
or
out. They
whatever.
put the warnings out to check on people and stuff like that. I mean, the western part of Sydney, in the middle of summer, will get 46,
Yeah, that's
but at
awful.
like 80% humidity, right? So it's really unpleasant.
Yeah, yeah,
And they're really risky days. They're really dangerous days for people.
yeah. Well, I think last November, because we had people coming over in November last year,
Yeah.
the weekend that people were coming over was like 43 degrees when they were driving across, and we're like in the middle of like Victoria, South A area. It was like 43 or something, and I was like, that is a horrific day for anyone. Like,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah,
that's
absolutely. I've
awful.
got memories of like I've got a number of memories of midsummers, more just after the Christmas New Year period,
Yeah,
where it was really bad. There was a year when we were on holidays down the coast, and we almost got cut off by fires. Um, and
that's
then
terrible.
and that same year when we got home, it had been that hot that the cladding on the back of the house had stretched about 1.5 meters off the house, and then when it cooled down, it fell off.
Oh, wow.
It was just
Yeah.
so hot that it damaged the house, right? It was
Yeah,
just
that's
ridiculously hot.
well, that's
So
like when
yeah,
things melt, right? Like when your shoes melt to the pavement and stuff. Like,
yeah.
you can't wear, you can't even wear thongs because the thongs are so thin that they just like melt to the
Remember,
pavement. Like,
yeah. I mean, we digress, but I remember doing that as a kid, right? You'd get
yeah,
it, you'd run from shadow to shadow.
yeah, basically. And don't get in a car with a seatbelt because like, or a steering wheel.
No, you hold the steering wheel at the bottom.
No, no.
But I mean, I
Yeah,
think it's really interesting for summer solstice that you've got no choice but to respect the sun.
Yeah,
you
Like
really
it's
have
such an
to.
overwhelming, like,
I mean, we were
yeah,
we were out walking around tonight or this evening just before it got dark, trying to find locations where we could potentially do a midsummer. And one of the big concerns is, okay, where's the shade?
Yeah, where's the cover?
Yeah.
Where's the cover? Because you do not want to be out in the sun in the middle of the day at midsummer, because you'll just get horribly sunburnt in
Yeah.
like 10 minutes.
Between 11 and 3, sit under a tree and slip, slop, slap.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And just be
Yeah.
aware, if it's under a jacaranda tree, you'll be covered in purple.
Purple's lovely. It's
No,
lovely.
that's not a problem. I'm here for it. Do they have enough shade though, is the question.
Yes, they're
True.
huge.
Yeah. But
Yeah, so that's I guess that's my take on it. My take on it obviously revolves a lot around the weather and the season, but it's a really extreme
yeah.
season. Midsummer is pretty extreme, and we try and pull the energy of that into what we're doing,
Yeah.
and what we're writing about this year, and the sort of the ritual for people starts early in the day,
Yeah.
because we want people to experience the day.
Yeah.
And I think that gives people the opportunity to experience those things in their own way as well. There's a connection to it. You can reflect on what you're doing, and when you bring the things that we need you to bring into that ritual, you're already in that space from a
Yeah.
because you engaged a few hours ago, and the day has progressed, and you've been aware of it. So I think it's going to change the dynamic of the ritual
Yeah.
itself when we do it that way, with the way people will participate because of where they'll be at.
Yeah.
Sounds
It's
lovely.
going to be really interesting.
I really love the fact that you're looking for places within your local environment to actually be doing your ritual work. Like, is that something you like to do? Is like ensuring that you're sort of really sort of grounded in where you are?
It depends on what we're doing and the time of year. It isn't. It's not an always thing. Some of it just comes down to logistics, right? We've got the facilities to do smallish rituals in our house, but we get past the numbers on that, and you've got to do it somewhere else.
Yeah.
And Yeah, no, it's not. It's. I would love to be able to say yes, yes. I'm very grounded in the local. I'm not. Sometimes I do that, but it's not a big thing. It's just look, we've lived in this area now probably for 3 years, and all of the outdoor stuff we've done outside of the area in places that are familiar to us from where we lived previously. So we're probably this will be the first time we've actually done something in our local area. Relatively speaking. We've still done it in Sydney, obviously. It's just we're just doing it down the road as opposed to a
Yeah.
15-minute drive away.
We've been here for 3 years now in South A, and we still haven't found a place to do anything outside yet. Because where we're living is a bit scrubland, so there's no big trees that are sort of blocking your view from the road. There's plenty of places we could do it, but it's all like scrub, so low level.
Well, that's
And
what we're looking at as well. Like, by the way, the areas we're looking at are remnant scrublands because that's
yeah,
all there is, right? We're right in the middle
yeah,
of Sydney, so
it's hard to find places these days. It's not like we're living in a place where there's places for you to do it.
Yeah, and you need to be mindful of the fact that it's an outdoor thing, it's a public thing, and there's other people around,
Yeah, and
and,
there's
and how
neighbors
you're
and
going to use
houses
the
and
space, and whether who's going to be overlooking it, and right, those sorts of concerns are very important.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to disrupt the local environment or community, but you also don't want to be disrupted either.
No, exactly. It's so hard. Why are we not better recognized as a religion with like spaces for us to use?
Not enough numbers yet.
Not enough numbers. No.
No.
But,
Well, I mean,
yeah,
there's
so that's
probably enough of us. We just need to band together as a group rather than be like separate and doing our own bloody thing. But anyway,
yeah. I think you hit on something there. Yeah,
like
because it's totally legit to get a couple of hundred pagans to all agree on the same thing at the same time, right?
anything. Just do what you feel.
Isn't that the herding cats
Yeah.
saying as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's worse. I think it's worse than that.
One of the things that I guess I miss as a tradition, not that we've, a tradition, but I would love to light bonfires at summer, not to like, but just to sort of do something with and then douse it. Like I'd like to be able to light a fire and then ritually douse the damn thing so that we don't get bushfires and things like that. But you can't even do that because bushfire warnings and stuff. And I mean, I suppose you
Total
do
fire
a
bans.
candle, total fire bans, yeah. You do with a
Yeah.
candle maybe, but
Yeah, I mean our standard kit of stuff for midsummer in particular uses fairy lights inside lanterns
yeah,
to mark quarters because there's just no way you're going to ever be able to set fire to anything.
no.
Um,
And like I wouldn't want to. Like, I
no,
would
no,
hate
no.
the
So, but we
reason.
just yeah, it's just part of the gig, right? You just can't.
Yeah, we just don't do it. Um,
No, very good reason,
yes. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's fine. It works. I mean, I don't really want any more heat on the day.
No,
Anyway.
I don't. No, I think I want less heat, which is hence the dousing it with water ritualistically.
Well, speaking of dousing of things with water, if you do attend, you might get wet.
That's true.
No,
That's a big part of this one.
I am all for that. Because I suppose the other thing is that if you don't get the dew point, you'll at least get the humidity markers so people
Yeah.
can collect the
Sweat
collect the
from their
water
We
off
body.
won't
you.
it's highly unlikely we'll get the dew point. People just bring water from home and be in the right frame of mind with that because there's still the connection around that. Um,
I
and
collect it
and
between
it's
now and
just
then
when you
though.
start doing things prior to attending a ritual for the ritual, it starts to shift where you sit with things. And so that when you do turn up to that, you're as I said before, you're already part way into that ritual mind.
Yeah.
And you're going to bring more of yourself. You'll be more connected to what's going on, and get more out of it as
Yeah.
well
Yeah,
because you haven't had it's been part of your day. You might have still been busy, obviously, and had to drop the kids to sport or gone shopping or done whatever, but there's been some more ritual aspect to your day than usual, so
Yeah.
that's going to flow through, and I think that works really well. Midsummer rituals for us are normally a relatively simple kind of affair. They're pretty effective, but they're
yeah.
a simple kind of thing. I think most rituals are a relatively simple kind of thing. If you make it too elaborate, then you'll lose people.
Yeah.
And I think
People.
I also I like the idea of actually like cutting things from the garden because I know for me our garden's looking really good right now in that we've got a lot of herbs in flower and a lot of different flowers. So we've still got last bit of jasmine on the vine.
I
And
love
for
that.
Yeah,
me, that's my favorite part of summer is the when you get that breeze that has, the night jasmine on it, or
All the
yeah,
smells.
yeah,
yeah,
all the smells, all the beautiful smells.
Yeah. 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 Because I guess it's not, I mean, in spring they're starting, like they're just coming out and they're starting to do the thing. And then summer's when they're like, yeah, I'm here. I'm doing my
Yeah,
thing. Come and see me kind of thing, So they're
yeah,
just,
and that's it. It's the heat that kind of just really it gets the
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. You
juices
definitely know what's
flowing.
going on. Yeah, and in Sydney though, it's like we celebrate the hottest day or the longest day of the year in the middle of summer. But the next month to 6 weeks tends to get hotter and definitely more humid in Sydney until it finally starts to abate. And you get to the end of that and you're really, really had enough now of this weather.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, by
And
February
that
I'm
brings
out.
in it. Yeah, and sometimes, like some years, not this year, we're not doing it, but other years where we've done rituals that talk around, a different story, the story of the energy of the sun changing and the shadow coming into. We did that last year when we did our public midsummer. The ritual story that followed was a ritual process of bringing forward or acknowledging the change of season and that things are going to get cooler. Um,
yeah,
in the shadow and in your personal life, looking at the shadow side of things coming in and those kinds of changes, and that they're not bad.
Yeah.
They're just a thing. But looking at celebrating almost bringing forward the decline of the energy of the sun because it is a little bit too much and it is so dangerous. So we do that some years as well. We did that last year. We did. It's not a thing for this year.
So I recently had a friend post up something on a social media site about how, and it's very Wiccan, this thing, but
Yeah, that's allowed.
yeah. Posted a question about how currently, like, the wheel of the year and the Sabbats are more seemingly to be dedicated to agricultural things or the energy levels and stuff, and there's very little mythology behind it anymore about the god and the goddess. And I found that really interesting because, well, I mean, I've been Wiccan for a very long time, and I integrate agricultural energy stuff sometimes in my, well, a lot of the time, but for me, it is the mythology of, well, the mythology that I follow anyway, because everyone's different. Everyone's got their own version of that Wiccan mythology. Um, I find that an interesting thing that she pointed out, that it feels like there isn't that much of a discussion about, the god, if this is the one you follow, that the god's at his peak and power and um, you know, he's virile and all that kind of stuff. And I find it was an interesting topic, I thought, for a Sabbath, that it's not publicly out there anymore about the mythology of stuff. It's all older books that talk about that.
Okay. It's not my
Yeah.
experience with the stuff that we do.
No, but I found
The
it an
stuff that we
interesting.
the stuff that we run publicly, because we've been doing it for such a long time. We've done plenty looking at completely non-agricultural aspects of the wheel of the year and the dynamic interplay that happens between the god and his journey and a more eternal goddess, although in three aspects,
Yeah,
and how those change from season to season and how they work together and what happens, and
yeah,
that has in the way that we celebrate those, depending on the cycle that we're working on, has nothing to do with agricultural stuff and everything to do with a spiritual journey.
yeah. I found it an
And we
interesting
and we do that a
conversation.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation. Definitely not. I'm not saying that they're wrong. You could absolutely do it as an agricultural journey for sure.
Well, it is.
Um,
In modern witchcraft books, they don't talk about the mythology very much.
oh,
It is about the agricultural thing, and I sat with it for a little bit because I was like, but we don't. I was so confused by it because I just thought we do the mythology, like, well, I mean, that's how I've
yeah,
anyway.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Do the mythology.
Yeah. I think I'm probably one of those people who's more focused on the elemental and the agricultural side of things.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, because I mean, I think probably because harvest is my favorite.
yeah,
Like, so, the harvest is really focused on the agricultural side and as well as the spiritual side. But yeah, no, I suppose in some ways that's one layer and you
yeah.
can
Of course.
layer on the other side as well. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can
I just
overlap them. You
interesting
can overlap those two things too, right? You can
all the time.
use agricultural cycles as an analogy for a spiritual journey.
Correct.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
growth, harvest, death, blah blah blah. Right?
yeah, yeah. I just thought it was an interesting because we're talking
Yeah,
about habits anyway, and it was like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm all for the God right now. He's, powerful and strong and, you know, amazing, and he's everything, kind of thing. I'm here for that because we're gonna kill him soon. So,
he might get
get
away
on
this
that.
time. He might get away this time.
He might runs fast enough with his little hooves.
But if he does, then it's climate change.
Well, that's true.
Well, we've got that anyway.
He's running faster every year. Okay, I can't keep up.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, that's a really interesting thought as well, is like, how does the Southern Hemisphere really, like, does it change? Or does it sort of put another filter on the god in his aspect? Like we've talked about how, for Northern Hemisphere, like during the summer, he's very much about the virility and the fertility kind of thing. But for us, like he's almost like that heavier duty, like he's a danger,
Yeah, he's a
almost too
bringer of
virile.
change and destruction.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. The risk is there. There's that death aspect to it that doesn't exist in the southern hemisphere experience of summer because it's so damn pleasant.
at the northern. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Compared with ours.
yeah, yeah. No, it's interesting. It's an interesting. I don't think I've ever changed my perception of him like that in like when I'm writing a ritual. I think to me he's still fertile and stuff, but I know that there's an aspect to him that if I wanted to pull out or if my group wanted to pull out, we'd be able to. Um, but yeah, we just don't very often. I know it does happen, but it's not the common.
And
Yeah, no,
actually thinking of
we've done it a couple times.
but thinking of summer solstice and how it's the sort of the last peak of that, and then the raining in, like maybe
Yeah.
the southern hemisphere actually does work into it because we focus on the, raining in and the
Yeah.
balance of that power.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've done that. We've looked at that, and done that where there's definitely a reining in, you know, from a and from a from a ritual story point of view, it's quite forceful
Yeah.
because he don't want to go. No, he's wants it to stay like this because having a good time. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And he's
with a bit
strong
of king.
and yeah. Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. I get it. But it's an interesting thing. And one
Yeah,
like I know this is a bit of a segue, but one of the things that I would love to do at some point in my bucket list life is to get to Stonehenge to be there for the solstices when either one
yeah,
of them, I don't give a shit which, but to see the sun come up through the rocks, that would be like bucket list item, to do that because I think that would be just so magical and
yeah,
would love that, you know. They do tours and stuff. Like you can pay to go and do it, but you just have to be there at the right time. And like, my God, the UK in like solstice time would be nuts.
yeah,
Well, summer solstice will be is that
Mm.
that's normally start of July, isn't it?
Yeah. But it would just be lovely to be able to
Yeah.
be at Stonehenge and see it come up through the rocks. But
yeah. Really, really, really special.
And so thinking about our time of year and summer solstice being so close to New Year's, what are some of the New Year's celebrations that you guys do?
Midsummer's pretty much the end of it, really, for the year. There's no real nothing past that really that we do.
no,
Um, we don't we don't have a strong kind of family culture of celebrating Christmas. Go a little bit nuts at midwinter, but we don't celebrate that. So no, that's it's just another day really. Once that we're done pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, we're about the same. We some years we've tried to catch up with friends online playing games for like New Year's. Um, but a lot of the time we do a barbecue is probably the biggest tradition that we have. We do a barbecue out,
Yeah.
sit outside, have a couple of drinks because usually it's 30 to 40 degrees.
Yep.
So, and we don't really do anything. But we're in bed by like 12:03, so but no,
Yeah. Just stay up and watch the fireworks. Right. That's about it really. Maybe get together with a few people, but there's nothing more to
no,
it than that. It's not a big deal.
no,
Yeah. And having grown up on the coast, for me, it's like trying to be at the beach at that time of, and especially, because that time of year, the beach and the sand gets really hot.
yeah,
So, like,
yeah,
waiting until it starts getting a bit dark and being able to kind of enjoy
yeah.
New Year's on the beach is always a really nice thing for
Yeah.
me.
Again, another time when I would love to have a fire. Not for the heat because screw that, but in movies and TV stuff, they're on the beach and they've got a fire and they're all drinking and I would love to do that, but I'm not
And
going to do that in a 40-degree day or a 35-degree day, have a bonfire on the beach, but I'd love
No-
to.
None of those things are filmed in Australia. You
I
know that, right?
know, I know, I know. But it's
but
just
in all fairness, a bonfire on the beach is probably one of the few places where you could probably get away with it at this
I
time of
know,
the year.
but you'd have to sit
Probably
6 kilometers down the road so you didn't get hot. Like
you
it's just,
melt. Yeah.
it's just in. I guess from the media perspective, we get so used to, oh, that's what you do, or that's what you see all the time. And I was like, oh, yeah, it'd be really cool to do it, but no,
Yeah.
no, it really wouldn't
No, it
at
wouldn't be.
all.
No, no, but I mean, yeah, swimming sounds great at that time of the year,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, yeah. Swimming's
Um,
definitely good.
I mean, Sydney gets pretty hectic on New Year's Eve. There's
Yeah,
a there's a lot going on.
yeah.
Plenty of things
And so,
exploding in the sky you can watch, which is good. But we don't do any,
Which,
nothing from a witchcraft or pagan point of view. We'll probably get together with some friends. They'll probably be pagans. That's just how we roll.
yeah. I'm surprised Sydney still hasn't switched over to drones instead of fireworks yet. I know, heat, blah, 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 fireworks sparking, everyone burns, blah, blah, blah. But that's an argument for another day. But yeah.
well, I would say,
You know that they
the,
do it over the harbour, right? So nothing
yeah.
Yes.
really catches fire.
But
Hang on, you guys have grilled me, but don't turn that around. So what are you guys doing
oh no, no,
for
you can't grill us.
midsummer? What's going on for midsummer? What are you guys doing? How are you celebrating it? What's the themes that you're introducing into your rituals?
Yeah, Gil, what are you doing?
Well, somebody else is writing Midsummer for me this year, so I'm going to
What?
be enjoying the work of others.
Themes
But
of,
actually,
completion and bringing things together.
yeah, well, I guess for me, yeah, like given that it's the end of the year as well, it's like a really good reflect time. And that's what I like about the solstices with like it's basically that point where you and the equinoxes where you kind of stop and take stock.
Yeah,
And it's like an opportunity for me to think about, what is it that I want to take into the new year? What is it that I want to put my energy towards? I mean, I'm one of those people who overcommits to things, and having those regular points of, is this really what I want to be putting? Yeah. Do I want to tip part of my cup out into this, or
yeah,
do I want to hold it? Yeah.
yeah,
So, yeah, for me personally, what I do this time of year is really about doing that little bit of a stock take
yeah,
of what has led up to the end of the year, and then deciding what I want to take forward.
yeah,
Yep.
And then also really just trying to get my feet in water. So whether it's the beach or, going to the river or yeah,
yeah,
for me it's also about connecting to that, yeah, to that water source and
Yeah, I can totally relate. I grew up on the coast as well, so that is one of the things that I miss. Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, same. Well, I didn't grow up on the coast, but I do miss the water.
And so like family wise, like spending time with my family is one of the things like I will be doing for sort of Christmas, New Year-y kind of thing. But like we have growing up on the coast and having oysters and that sort of that seafood connection, it's yeah, it's the we do the Italian seafood bonanza and but it is also like my dad's side of the family being German, like it's the one time of year where we really do the pickled pork and so
Mm,
it's also a little bit about like embracing those traditions and those little bits of
heritage.
heritage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So like and I think that's more about this time of year than it is particularly about the wheel of the year. Yeah, and I will say it is very cool, like, but then also not having that homogenized sort of shared experience can also, like, I think it'd be really interesting to experience,
yeah.
like I've got friends who are currently living in Europe and I'm seeing them post pictures of all of the Christmas markets and everyone's just really like it's a real thing up there,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
yeah,
not,
which yeah, it's
No, I
not
mean, I
not
agree. I
not in
think
the same way.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's basically from the beginning of December until New Year's, or until Christmas Day. There is Christmas carols playing in every shopping centre. And they've got like, and every shop kind of has only one CD
yeah,
that they play
right,
constantly.
yeah,
And all the councils have kind of put out their pre-required decorations, and all the shopping centres are decorated, and that's about it. And there's a couple of shows, couple of traditional things like in which we used to go and look at when the kids were young at the one of the major shopping chains would decorate one of their entire shop had like lots of window displays all the way around, and they would all be converted to
Yeah.
really well done Christmas scenes, and the kids would love that. But that's about it. It's not
Yeah.
not as
We're very
prevalent.
secular as a country. Like it's not, yeah.
Yeah. And I will
Yeah,
say even
and I like that too. Like I like it that I can get away from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it that when I don't celebrate Christmas on Christmas Day, if my kids are away or whatever, and it's just me and my partner, and this year it's just going to be me because my partner's going to be away. I can just go to the movies.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
You know, I can go to a coffee shop because there'll be one open. I can get a coffee and
somewhere.
stuff like that. And treat it like a regular day, which is really good.
Yeah.
As well. So you can. The other side of it is that you're not trapped in something that you don't necessarily want to celebrate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, about the only tradition we have is we used to do Orphans Christmas, which was offering a house basically for anyone that didn't want to spend Christmas Day for whatever reason with their families, or couldn't spend Christmas Day with their families and wanted to be somewhere and not be at home alone.
Yep.
Not that we celebrate Christmas, but it was just to be, because Christmas has got a whole lot of baggage attached to it.
Yeah.
And especially, I've got a lot of gay friends that had a hard time coming out because their families sort of rejected them, and families that have passed on and things like that, and they've got nowhere to go, and they just, so we did Orphans Christmas for quite a few years. We haven't done it this year because of timing and stuff. We can't do it. And I normally order myself 3 kilos of prawns and spend the next 3 days eating them.
Yeah, that's a good way to spend 3 days. We have also done the Orphans Christmas thing, before, which is a fun thing to do. I always pack my with I would always pack the kids off to their mums, right? Because huge Catholic family.
Yeah, right.
So Christmas for them, yeah, but like all of the, and they did that in a major way. Like, the whole family would get together. There'd be 15 or 16 kids, all of about the same age, and they'd have a great time while they can sit at home with me and crack a bonbon. Like, it's not the same, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Um,
No. But I think it's nice to
That
share that with other people that can't have it themselves or don't want it.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's really, really good to be able to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
and so Mel, I will say for me, it's the overeating of cherries. I like this time of
Another
year,
one.
I will, yeah, eat
Cherries.
way, way too many cherries.
Yeah,
Cherries.
no, I'm with Mel on the seafood. Like, seriously.
Yeah, seafood. I got lobsters the year before last because I thought, I haven't had lobster for a while. Bought lobster. I splurged.
Yeah, go nuts.
That was lovely. And then that was like 2 years ago. Maybe I'll get a lobster this year. But
I think the export restrictions have been taken off, so they're probably going to be really
yeah.
expensive again. But there was that wonderful period of time where we couldn't sell them anywhere, so they were cheap.
Yeah. I point out as well that I have to make something else for my hubby, and he's like I'm the only one that eats the prawns. No one touches my prawns. They're my prawns, and I make other food for other people. I should point that out. They're my prawns.
Okay, good. Well, good to know. Just in case we ever run across each other at Christmas.
Correct. Or non-Christmas, but whatever.
Well, I have to admit
If there are
that,
prawns, right?
and now you've kind of set a challenge for us to steal prawns.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the one time that I buy prawns. I don't buy them any other time of the year simply because I want it to be special.
Yeah. Okay.
So I mostly don't buy them.
Yeah.
The rest of the
And
year.
so you just choose the most expensive time to.
Yeah.
do
Why
prawns.
not? Because logic. Anyway.
Special. You paid for it.
Well, that's it for our bonus episode for Summer Solstice. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We hope that your New Year's is fantastic and that you have a wonderful, wonderful end to the year and a brilliant start to the next year, 2025. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to all of our things. And if you feel like it, tell us what your plans are for Christmas or solstice or the new year even. Let us know what your goals and your hopes are. Thank you, Reese, for coming. And thanks for Gil for being my co-host like normal.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.